Uh, doesn't matter.
We all know sweets help you make friends. What's your favorite Wizarding World sweet?
Mine? Oh God. I haven't tried many of them, to be honest. We don't
You've
really
been
get
to the
to.
Have you been to the Harry Potter store in New York?
I have
They
once
have
or
candies,
twice.
yeah.
Yeah, I've not tried. I mean, I will. It would probably be a chocolate frog, though. I'll be honest, I haven't actually tried the chocolate frogs that we sell at the show. But maybe before I leave, I'll have to
I
try
have this for you in November.
them. Fantastic. Thanks. I'll have to try it. I'm sure. I'm sure that will be my favorite, if I
Yeah.
had to guess.
I like fizzing Whizbees. I tried them once or twice. They're really good, I think.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll have to try them.
I wish they sold pepper imps. They don't
Hmm.
sell them anymore. They used to, I think.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think.
Well, I'll have to keep an eye out.
Yeah.
I've only tried chocolate frogs, so
Yeah. No, it's hard to do the show and try too many of the sweets at the same time. So,
yeah. Um, I do want to ask, how was the first day of rehearsals like?
Man, that was a long time ago. It was good. I mean, when you're walking into something like this, it's always kind of a crazy experience. And you're walking, you're like, oh wow, this is real. Not only is this like Harry Potter, but man, this is Broadway. Wow, this is real. Um, it was definitely, but then once you get going, it's not all that different from any other, you know, rehearsal process that you might be a part of, which is kind of the nice thing. Yes, the toys are a little bit fancier and you get to, the sets are cooler, but at a certain point you're just working on a play. So it was both kind of overwhelming and just like home, you know?
Yeah.
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 Um, for anyone watching this who has it's recording, right? I forgot.
Yeah.
For anyone watching this who hasn't seen the show, how would you sum up the show?
3 hours of straight magic. Pretty much. I mean, you guys have seen it. I haven't. How would you sum up the show?
Um, Unlikely friendship happens out of nowhere. They
Yeah.
get into a big adventure, and
Yeah,
it's
it's a
just lots of magic. Yeah.
it's a show about family, both given and
Yeah,
found, I think, and magical adventure.
of course.
In what ways do you relate to your character?
Um, I I think Albus is, he's someone who's got, as is said in the show, a very strong heart. His heart's pretty much always in the right place, but the way in which he goes about sort of acting upon that is not always totally thought through. So I think that's kind of the biggest part where I find myself in Albus is that sort of always wanting to do the right thing, but not struggling to know what that is and not seeing the consequences of that. And I think, I think that's a lot of people is it's sort of you I like to give people the benefit of the doubt of having good intentions, but you know, those intentions don't always lead where they should.
What's the hardest part of the show for you to perform?
All of it. I think the first like half hour for the Albus
Yeah.
track is quite a lot. There's definitely, I mean, the way you do a show like this 8 times a week is there are milestones in the show every night that you kind of get through, and like that first, like through the wand dance is definitely one of them, and then through the train top, and then through Polyjuice. Like you kind of go beat by beat, and that's how you think about it. And so the first one is just because it's fast. There's a lot. We have to do it really fast because of just time. And I'm running a lot, and it's one of those. There's a lot of physical activity for me in that section of the show, and it's like sometimes it'd be a Tuesday night, and you're kind of warming up back into the week, and so sometimes your body is more ready for it than other nights. So there's definitely sometimes moments when I get out there and I'm like, oh man, we're after this swan dance and I'm feeling it. So it depends on the night, but that first section is definitely rough. The Quidditch pitch can be a lot too for the two of us as we throw ourselves around.
Yeah.
Um, Kind of going back to summing up the show,
Mhm.
a little bit is what message do you think people should take from this story?
Um, I mean, I think there's a couple different messages you can take. I mean, obviously, I think that as I said earlier, like to me, it's a lot about that family is both given and found, right? Like half the show is about father son, Albus Harry, sort of learning to live with the family you're given. And the other half of the show, I think, is about, creating the family that you choose. And that's Albus and Scorpius. And that's, that both can coexist. It's just about sort of how do you navigate the the interaction between those two things. And I think to me that's the heart of the show. Um, on top of, like I said, with it's where I see an Albus is it's also a show about just following your heart, but also but also your head, and sort of how those two things interplay, and what it means to do the right thing when the right thing isn't always so clear cut. And I think that that's what I take away from the show. I guess I won't prescribe for anyone else what they take away, but
Yeah.
that's what I see in it.
Um, if you got to choose any character to play, no restrictions, no nothing, any show, who would you play? I think I know the answer to this one.
Any show ever.
Any show, yeah.
Okay, that'd be a close tie between uh Peter Parker and Spider-Man and Evan Hansen and Darren Hansen.
I had a feeling it was going to be Evan Hansen.
What one of the two? Yesterday I finally, before I left the show, got to go up with the head carpenter to like the grid of the theater and see all the old stuff from Spider-Man, because I've been waiting for 2 years to have him take me on that field trip, and that was pretty, that satisfied my inner fan. So
Um, for anyone watching who wants to be an actor,
mhm.
what motivation do you want to tell them?
I mean, what I tell people, who come to the stage door or whatnot, who ask us about acting is, it's acting is, you have to know that you want to do it, right? It's not, there are much easier career paths out there. There are much less frustrating career paths out there. There are other career paths where you don't have to like rely on luck as much as you do in, acting is all about luck meets preparation, but the luck is very much a part of it for sure. But what I tell people is like it is, especially young people getting involved in it, is the only thing you need to focus on right now wherever you are is just doing it and finding ways to do it in to make sure that it's something you want to do. A lot of people try it, it's not for them, that's fine. Not everyone has to be an actor. In fact, most people probably shouldn't. I I would recommend against it in most cases. Making sure that it's something that you want to do and then finding ways to do it. And that's kind of the motivation. Like for me growing up in school was always like, okay, what's the next thing what's the next, is it the school play next fall? Is it some sort of summer thing? Like if you find yourself wanting to keep finding the next thing, that's a pretty good indication that, you want to be an actor and that it's something that you're interested in doing. But also, you have to, I think also just take wherever you're at as like that's where you need to be too, because a lot of people are like, oh, I haven't done this, that, or the other, and it's a really easy feeling to have. I've certainly have had that, still have that in many ways of like, why am I not doing X, Y, and Z? But the more you can focus on just doing the work that's in front of you, that's how you grow. A lot of people ask us like, how do I get to Broadway? It's like, I wish I could tell you. I've been there and I still don't know. I auditioned for this show and I got cast in it, and that's as much as I can tell you about it. Other than just keep doing it and finding ways to do it. And the more you do it, the better you're gonna get, and the more you're gonna get from it. More importantly, of like in terms of what you want in life.
What's your Patronus? Do you know? Have you ever done the quiz or whatever?
Oh God, what is my Patronus? I did do the quiz and it didn't resonate with me enough to stick in my. I think it was like a Pine Martin or something, if I
I think I
recall.
had something similar. I feel like I did the test once and I got
Yeah,
something like that.
I don't know. I did it and I was like, nah, I don't know about this. So
What do you think, or what do you think Albus's is?
Albert, I mean, it's got to be a pigeon, right? You know what I mean? Like at least after the events of the show. Um, Something either that or like I mean we've always said Albus has a ferret in the cage in her
Yeah.
thing, so maybe it's something like that, but it could be. I think a pigeon would be. I'm going to say that for comedic effect.
I've also always thought possibly a snake because you know his initials ASP.
Could
That's the
be,
name of a
yeah.
snake.
Could be
Yeah.
an asp, yeah. Could be.
Yeah.
Um, so I know a little bit of your schooling for college and stuff was like
Mm.
during COVID. So
Yeah.
what was your schooling for acting like?
Yeah, I mean, I went to Columbia, which is not an acting school. It's not a conservatory or anything like that. It's just a liberal arts college. And I did major in theater. So, but the theater, like what that means is it was mostly a academic look at theater. So I did a lot of like reading about theater and writing about theater. There's kind of a sense, maybe I told you this once, Sam, I can't remember, of like there's a sense maybe of like why would we ever do theater when we can sit down and think really hard about it? But I did do some like my concentration or whatever they called it was in acting. So I did my thesis in acting on Zoom from my bedroom because COVID. Um, and you know that I there was some acting classes I took, but it wasn't like, for instance, like what Eric did. You know, he was in a conservatory doing it all day every day, and it's just a different path to it. I did a lot of my version of that was I did a lot of student theater outside of school. So like every night I'd be in rehearsals for shows either through the theater department or through student theater. So that's kind of how I did my like practical training experience of it. But yeah, it was not the conservatory style experience. Which just kind of goes to show that like there are multiple ways into it. You don't have to go much as much as conservatory marketing would like you to think. You don't have to go to a conservatory to be an actor. You also don't have to not go to a conservatory to be an actor. There's it kind of is whatever is going to work for you. And I knew in my college process, I kind of figured out that that probably wasn't the best path for me because there were other things that I wanted to do, and I didn't want to just do theater all day every day throughout college, and that worked for me, you know.
Um, you've said this multiple times. I don't think it really matters. It doesn't really contribute to the show, in my opinion. But what are your
Mm.
thoughts on like the relationship between Albus and Scorpius?
I you know I My thoughts on it are pretty much just it's really, I like that it is open for kind of whatever you want it to be as the audience. I think I've had people come, lots of people come, they're like they're in love, they're going to be together. That's great. I, I have no problem with that. I think I've had also people come be like who didn't really get that. I was like, no, they're just very close friends, and I think that's great too. Like, there's no problem with that either. And I think it's for us as actors, they don't really prescribe for us what it is too much, and we try not to prescribe for the audience what it is beyond just what's in the show. And I think as it is currently, it's kind of at the point where like it's as far as it can go without defining it one way or another. And I think that that's a really happy medium of kind of, it's, you can walk away. Art is always in the eye of the beholder, right? And it's about your experience in the theater watching it. And so I think that that's so great that it is leaves that room for you to just take away what you're going to take away from it.
Yeah. Elliot, your turn.
Okay. Uh, what is your favorite Harry Potter spell?
Oh, my favorite. Oh man, that's a great question. I think in the past before I've said expecto patronum, just because I like the sort of customized surprise of it all. Um, but it's like limited use. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of one of those where how often would that really come up? Um, I think a great spell like Scourgify is pretty useful. Like that would be great in my own life. But yeah, I have to think more about. I mean, I'm trying to think of all the other ones, like the niche ones that you don't see too much of. Reparo would be incredibly useful in life. I think about that a lot of how wizards never have to like buy new things to replace broken plates or whatever. So yeah, probably something in the like utilitarian landscape of spells, I think.
Um, what's your favorite backstage memory, like while doing Harry Potter or on stage, either one?
Oh man, I mean, there's plenty. There's lots of I mean, one of my favorite sort of mishaps that I can talk about is we were backstage and there's the scene, in Harry's office with the Dumbledore portrait and
Yeah,
Stephen Edwards like just starting to do that scene. And later in the show it snows, right, in Godric's Hollow. And so there's some things happening backstage to enable it to happen, and something went wrong, and all of a sudden, all of the snow fell in Harry's office, like all at once. And I'd never seen Steve move so fast out of that scene. There's like a big bang, and all the snow fell. Uh, but that was kind of a moment of like, all of us be like, what just happened? How, where are we in the show? What's going on? Um, So that was kind of like one of those days. Like, thankfully, nothing, like no one was hurt or anything, but one of those mishaps where you're like, that was strange. And they had to like come out and, sweep up all the snow to continue the show and whatnot. But so little things, when things go wrong, it's we never want anything to go wrong, but it's always thrilling for us. Because when you do the show 8 times a week the same way, if any little thing changes, you're like, oh my God, it's so exciting. Um, so yeah, that kind of sticks out as emblematic of like the kinds of experiences that I will certainly remember after I depart this show.
Yeah. Um, Now how did you realize you wanted to pursue theater, or like what was kind of like the first moment you thought about it?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up going to the theater a lot with my grandma, and I never really thought about it as something to do until I the first play I was ever in, like really that I was really ever in, was when I was in like fifth grade, I want to say. Um, and I only did it because like my cousin was doing it and my mom signed me up against my will. And because she needed me to do something on a Saturday morning. And so I did that and I actually had a great time doing it. And it was kind of one of those things of like, oh wow, this is something that like I can do and that people do this. I didn't know that one could just be an actor. But even then I didn't really think about it as like a career or as a job of any sort when until sorry for the sirens. Until probably late high school is when I really thought about it. I had an advisor in high school who um, you know, was my director in theater and I'd been doing the shows, and at one point he like was talking to me and he's like, "You're gonna be an actor, right?" And I was like, "What do you mean? What is that?" And he was like, "Well, yeah, like you could do it." And he'd been an actor and whatnot. And I was like, maybe. Um, and so I sort of thought of that. And I was like, end of high school was kind of the time when I got an agent and I just started doing it a little bit as much as I could in Seattle, which is not the same as New York, but like I was like, and I was started. I went on this whole like letter writing campaign when they were recasting Spider-Man, and I like sent in audition videos for Spider-Man, and when I obviously I didn't get it, but it was fun to like do that and go through that process, and so I enjoyed doing that, and then when I was applying for college is kind of the time when I was like, well, maybe I will at least keep this in my life for the next 4 years. Um, and then as I went, through college, it just sort of felt more and more like something that I really wanted to try at least to do. You can't, unlike some other career paths, you can't really like decide that you're gonna go act all the time. You have to, there's a lot of auditioning and things, and you have to kind of be chosen by other people to even do it. So definitely when I graduated college, it was like, oh, well, we'll see what happens here. And there was a year where I was just out about and I did some like indie films and short films and whatnot, which was fun, but it was nothing grand. And then Harry Potter came along and it was like, oh, okay, so like someone thinks that maybe I can do this. We're gonna find out. And we're still finding out, and it's still one anything could happen. But um yeah, it was I wouldn't say there was like a single watershed moment for me, but it was kind of a progressive of like, hey, okay, let me try this and we'll see where it goes.
Um, I kind of know this. I know like half these questions, but the people
Okay.
watching don't.
Sure,
How,
sure.
how did you hear about the casting call? Or like where did you hear about it?
Good old Actors Access. It's a good list for those unfamiliar. It's a sort of listserv for auditions and things, and that's where like all the agents get the breakdowns from Actors Access. And I didn't have an agent here at the time, and so I was just doing it myself. And um, yeah, it came up, and I submitted my profile, and then I was auditioning.
What other productions have you been in up till now?
Um, I mean, nothing, at the scale of Harry Potter for sure. In terms of shows you might know that I did in, say, high school. I was in The Wizard of Oz, and then I was in Seussical. I did Little Shop. We did The Music Man. Those were the four shows I did in high school. In college, I did Godspell was one. I did Romeo and Juliet, um, Midsummer Night's Dream. Stupid Fucking Bird was my thesis on Zoom. So these are just shows you may or may not have heard of. That, and then everything else that I've done is probably like either original shows or films that are not based on anything. So
What do you think makes a role challenging?
um man, I mean any number of things. The roles can be challenging in different ways. There's roles like certainly many of the roles in this show are challenging just physically to do. There's a lot of dance or movement or whatnot. There's roles that are, if you're in a musical, there's roles that are challenging vocally, obviously, where you just have to be a really good singer to do it. Um, in terms of like acting, I think roles that there are like roles that push you out of your comfort zone for sure. Roles that where you're maybe cast a little bit against type can be hard. For you, it might not be hard for someone else, but it might be hard for you, and it's kind of whoever is challenge is defined by who's doing it. I think roles that require a lot of layers, psychological layers of just sort of like understanding, picking apart how the character thinks and how all the different conflicting impulses that they're feeling and sort of trying to like capture all of those in one can be really hard. Yeah, it's kind of yeah, it depends, I guess, on what it is. It's a hard question to answer without looking at any specific role, I guess.
Do you think you'll stick in New York after Cursed Child?
I will definitely be here for another half year or so because of my lease. But I think for the immediate future, I will probably stay in New York. It kind of will depend which way the wind blows on whatever comes next. I mean, I'm from the West Coast. I'm not from around here, so there is a non-zero chance that at some point I'll end up more back that way in my life. But for the immediate future, most of the people I went to school here, most people I know are here outside of my family. But we'll see.
Um, I don't know if the one you told me about you're able to say here because people are watching.
Okay.
What's your funniest on-stage mishap other than the one you told me? Because I feel like that's
Trying to remember
not real.
which one I told you.
The fight, Harry, Albus.
Oh yeah. Whoa, yeah, when I told Harry that I wished he wasn't my son. There was that. That was a good one. I've done that one. One other Albus has done that too. One of our covers did that once, and I was like, oh, it's a rite of passage, I see. Um yeah, I mean things like that. I mean the line flubs are always kind of the funniest for us of just when it's you you're like mortified for a minute, but then you can laugh about it, and when it's anyone else you're like, oh, that's so funny. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think any of this, I've probably every scene in the show, I've like dropped a line at some point in the 2 years of, there's been times when like in HE2 when we're getting on the, right before we get on the train, it's like, I have all those big like long lines about the whole plan. And there was definitely one night where like, I just like had the thoughts, but my mouth would not say the words. And I was like, and like, and then they killed Cedric, and like, that was wrong. And then we got on the train. Something like that, just where it's like you get the points out, but you're like, that was not the written words at all. But it's a long show. Who cares? So we have fun. We amuse ourselves whenever that happens. And 9 times out of 10, the audience has no idea. So it's good.
Um, what was your favorite stage door interaction?
We had a guy, this was like a week and a half ago. We had a guy at the stage door who like really enjoyed it. He's like, yeah, that was really cool. That was really cool. And he kind of leaned in. And he's like, so like all the words, like that was like pre-recorded, right? Like syncing the whole thing. And we were like, no. Like that's we're mic'd. And like that's how it, which like obviously if we were to pre-record lip sync, like that would be even more impressive because I don't know, like that would be hard for a play, and people think that sometimes about musicals on Broadway. And for the record, it is all sung live, I can assure you. Um, but which makes sense if you're music. I could see how you think that, but it's very funny for like someone to come to a play and hear us talking for 3.5 hours and be like, "Oh yeah, that was the track. That was pre-recorded." And be like, "Whoa, we're living in two different realities here." So that was funny, just kind of a take that we had not heard before. Um, yeah, that's that and like the kids who want us to sign their foreheads and whatnot, where we're like, "Are you sure? Like, is your mom around? Should she like okay this?" But yeah.
Elliot had wanted to ask this, but it's my turn to ask now. So,
Okay.
what about like your tutoring job? Like you tutor part-time?
Yes, I run a tutoring company with a friend of mine. And so we have a group of tutors who we send off with different people. And when people reach out, we tutor a lot of, mostly we tutor math, physics, science stuff. We do also tutor writing, but people know that less because our name is Hyperspace Tutors, and that kind of screams STEM to people. But yeah, it's something that I started at the end of college, with my friend who's a real scientist. He's getting his PhD in particle physics right now. But something that we'd both worked for tutoring companies, through school, and we kind of hated it. And there's a lot of tutoring companies out there, to each their own, but definitely tutoring companies who their priority isn't the like tutor student relationship. And we just wanted to make a company where like that wasn't as much about just purely making money, of like, well, this is something we do on the side of because we enjoy it. And so we still, yeah, we've run that since 2021, since we graduated. And we have a lot of fun.
So
Um,
it's turn. Yeah.
I have a question. Do you have a favorite Wizarding World like beast slash creature?
Ooh. Um, Immediately to mind, hippogriffs are pretty cool. Like I mean, Buckbeak is definitely a highlight in the books. Trying to think of what other creatures there are. Um, yeah, I think I double down on hippogriffs is my favorite of the Wizarding World. The what are they called? Nifflers, the mole
Yeah,
like ones from
yeah.
Fantastic Beasts behind you. Those are kind of fun. Um, oh, I like the little twig guy from,
Uh,
Pickett.
Picket,
I
yeah.
don't know what it's called. I know his name.
yeah, I like him in Fantastic Beasts.
Bow Truckle.
That's the
Oh
one.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Bow Truckle.
Yeah, yeah. I like him. I like him. So one of those three is probably my favorite.
Yeah, the classic.
I mean, phoenixes are pretty cool too. Let's not lie.
Yeah,
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
come on. Yeah,
they can literally heal you by crying.
yeah.
So,
Um, I'm just coming up with questions on the spot now. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
We had asked Eric if he wanted to do an interview with us. This was before we knew he was staying another year.
Sure.
So we asked him and we were like, hey, by the way, would you want to do this? And he was like, I don't have time, but you can say Joel could tell some stories about us that we've had
Oh,
backstage or whatever.
he's giving me
So
license to do that. Good to know. Stories about Eric. Um, well, here's a fun fact about Eric that you may or may not know. Eric really, I swear, New Balance, the shoe company, is like paying him to advertise because he always wears New Balances and he gets the like bright. He's got these bright white ones and he's got these like purple yellow ones. He's
I think
always
I've seen
wearing
him
them.
wearing the purple
I'm
yellow
sure you've
ones.
seen them. And he is a New Balance company man. Like it is what that is. He's like, these are the best shoes ever. Um, and I'm like, man, I think you should be a New Balance influencer. And he hasn't taken me up on that yet, but I'm like, I think that's what you need to do. And I'm not a New Balance person. So that's sort of we've had many a conversation about the pros and cons of New Balances in our day. Um, yeah, that's probably my favorite fun fact about Eric. That and the other one thing one I can share is so Eric. I mean, Eric is he's mostly a uh, straight actor, meaning non-musical. He doesn't like to sing all that much. Um, and he's done the musicals growing up because of like you usually do. And he was sitting in his chair. It was like intermission one day, and I'm in my little desk over here, like I don't know, doing whatever. And he's sitting there, kind of like disassociating into space, waiting for his mics or something. And I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Man, I really hope I don't have to do a musical." And I was like, "Are you under threat of that happening?" Like I don't. He was like, "No." I was like, "Well, I think you'll have a choice." I think, and he meant more just like that. It's hard enough to do a 3.5 hour play where you don't have to sing, and but it was sort of funny, just very funny. Where I was like, Is someone got a gun to your head, wanting you to do a musical? Like, what's going on here, bud? So we've little things like that are kind of what color our our interactions every day.
Yeah,
Yeah, your
so
turn.
yeah. So Albus's wand is kind of like based off of him being a warrior. It's
Oh, okay. I'm not
like
sure.
Warrior.
war
Not sure I knew that. Great.
so apparently like the bumps
You,
on his
let's
wand
ask
like
first. Do you know the background of the
yeah, do
wands?
you know?
Apparently, I don't. I mean, I know some of it, but I don't know.
What
Apparently,
do
I
you
don't know
know?
things.
Yeah, what do you?
I've seen like the drawing, the like evolution drawings of it that they show us when we join the show, but I don't know all that much about why it was chosen for any specific character.
Actually, if you give me a second, I can get my journey book. I'll fix that later. Um, so I want to read you the exact words. Give me a minute. Elliot, you could talk to him while I find it.
I don't have anything to say.
So it's something about Albus worries a lot, so the bumps are like a worry stone
Yeah,
almost.
Oh, I love that.
yeah,
And then
we're yeah,
Scorpius, it's kind of sad.
Well,
They
I
say
know
that
the I know the notches are counting down to Hogwarts. That I know.
there are two. Okay, I found it.
there are two.
Scorpius's wand. I thought about how tortured Scorpius is. As an extension of the self, the wand bears the marks of his soul, counting the days till he can go to Hogwarts, or perhaps even self-harming for relief from his pain.
Hmm. Well,
I figured out that a lot of the actors don't know as much as we do.
Yeah.
yeah, no, it doesn't. I mean, also like this is a secret, but the props we have in the show don't always look like the actual. So it's less. It becomes less relevant day to day.
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
yeah, so I guess my question is, do you believe Albus is a like big worry or
Totally. Yeah, I think there's a lot of. I mean, I think um my version of Albus certainly has some anxiety to it, and it's something that I've kind of dialed up and down over 2 years. I think like it's funny. Steve and I both kind of had this like similar hand thing that we do in the show, and that's kind of we kind of both did it, anyway. And then at a certain point, I was like, oh, let me watch him do this and try and kind of, you know, mirror it a little bit as like kids and parents often do. And so I think Harry and Albus are both. I think that that's kind of a core. Both of them, they're both worrying a lot about the future and about everyone around them. Kind of from different angles. Harry is obviously kind of trying to. Harry's been through it all once, is worrying about just keeping, his life normal. Albus is worrying very much about like making his place in the shadow of this legacy. And I think that, so they kind of come at it from two different angles, but I think that the worry is very common for between the two of them. And yeah, that so it makes sense that he would kind of have a fidget toy in his wand. I like that.
Um, I completely forgot what I was gonna say. Give me
It's all
Elliot, you
good.
can ask another question. I lost.
Oh. Um, I don't have it. What's your favorite animal like out of the Wizarding World?
You already asked that.
I said
Oh,
out of the Wizarding.
out of the Wizarding World. That's a great question. I mean, I've always been like a lizard fan. Geckos, I
Oh.
like geckos. I mean, I like cats. I grew up with a lot of pets, so I'm pretty like animal friendly in general. Um, so it's hard for me to pick a favorite, but I like the sort of reptile. My dad was very into reptiles when I was growing up, and so
I live in
I've
Florida, so there's tons of lizards every day.
yeah, you got him. You got a lot of them there. Yeah, yeah,
It sucks because we get them in our house like half the time. They'll get stuck in our house.
yeah.
The other day, one got into our house and we were trying to get it out, and my mom accidentally hit it with the broom and
Ah,
it just died
oh no,
like just like that. I felt so
tragic,
bad.
tragic. Well, hazards of being a gecko in
Yeah.
Florida. Yeah,
I'm originally from New York. Do you know upstate, like Syracuse?
I know of it.
Have you ever
I've
been up
I've
there?
I've 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 flown through it once, but I've never actually been to Syracuse. Yeah,
It's a nice place. If you ever get the chance to visit, I'd do it.
duly noted. Duly noted.
Elliot, your turn again.
Uh, uh, what's your favorite like wand overall in the Wizarding World for any character?
Oh, I mean, the Elder one is cool, right? Like, just the design of the movie is cool. I also really like the design of Hermione's wand in the movies. I think with the sort of ivy
Yeah.
going up it, I like that. I like who's this one do I like? Trying to think of all the now I'm like drawing a blank on what the wands are. I like yeah, Harry's wand never looks to me like I think it should look.
Yeah.
And like I have no justification for that. It's just every time I see in the movies, I'm always like, oh, that's Harry's wand. Okay. Just I mean, you never really see him up close that much in the films
Yeah.
themselves, but it's definitely that one always sticks out to me as like huh, interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
what
yeah.
what do you think Harry's wand should look like?
I think like to me, like I in like reading the books, it was and this is kind of how they illustrate in the books too, in some of the chapter it's like it's just much more just like very simple profile, and just very um I mean, like I guess what they are in like the first two movies before they decided that they needed to all look different. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just funny. It's just one of those things that is always like that's Harry's wand in my mind. There's one of the chapter titles in Deathly Hallows that has it's where it's after his wand gets broken, and that's like the chapter illustration, and that's just like my default image, and that's just like a very simple like straight stick, and that's like my default image of Harry's wand for whatever reason. Um, Harry's wand in the show is also very like bulky,
I've never seen Harry's wand in the show. Once I save up money, I'm gonna do that. I'm either gonna buy all the wands and all the merch they have at Cursed Child, or I'm gonna get Ferret, one of the two.
One of the two. Yeah, it's got like these round ridges on it.
I think I might
It's
have caught
also,
a
I
picture
mean,
of it.
the wands we have on stage were like bigger than the ones in the gift shop because you have to be able to see them, and so like the one when it's in Steve's pocket, like it just looks very big up
Yeah.
close, which is funny. Yeah.
My turn now. Is Sesame like in the room with you? Like, where is she?
Miss Sesame is with us in the window.
She's always.
Yes,
Um,
she's here.
how many animals or like pets have you had growing up?
Oh man, we had a lot. My so we grew up. I mean, the first pet I ever had was a cat. Um, Poppy. All my cats seem to be named after seeds, which was coincidence, but now has become the rule, I think. We, growing up, like we had leopard geckos, we had tortoises, snapping turtles, like chickens. We've always had chickens or pheasants in our backyard. My dad now lives on one of the islands that is in the Puget Sound, so it's a little more rural than where I actually grew up. But so he has more room for that kind of thing in his life now. But like we've kept bees since I was in middle school. We had bearded dragons, lots of fish and things like that. We had a lungfish once that was kind of like a dog. It was funny. I had a dog growing up too. And we have some dogs back home. But yeah, my early pets were all kind of scaled or otherwise feathered. Um, and they were, yeah, just animals were have kind of always been in my life in one way or another. And that's um yeah, it's funny. It's living in New York now with like a normal pet. It's like I don't think about it that much, but it's very fun to me that like that was such a part of my childhood that is, not really possible in New York City. Um, so yeah.
You had
That
like
was
a whole zoo growing up then.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had a lot. We had a lot of different. My dad was kind of a crazy animal person, and so that's what I grew up with. Yeah, I have a question for you guys. When did you guys first see the show?
Elliot, you go first because I'm trying to remember.
I first saw it when it first came out.
Okay, so you saw the two-parter.
Yeah, yeah,
Very
I'm
good,
I'm an OG.
very good, very good.
I've actually
Um,
recently this summer I went back to see it, so I saw you.
Very cool.
I first saw it back in February of 23, so I've never seen the
Oh,
two-parter.
okay.
I'm
So
planning on
you're more
this,
recent.
yeah, I'm planning on this year going to London and seeing the two-parter if it hasn't shut down, hopefully. I
Oh,
don't think it
I know
would.
it'll probably still be there. If I had
Yeah,
to guess.
hopefully. Um, then I saw it a second time in Toronto,
Yeah.
in June 23. Then I saw it a third time in New York, July 23. Then I saw it the fourth and fifth time, March 24. And then I just saw it June of 24, a few months ago. And then I'm going to see it again in November twice because I got the $25 tickets.
Oh, nice. You got
Oh
the
yeah,
scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
I'll
Very good.
hopefully be there November 10th too.
Cool. Cool.
I got like third row tickets, so they're like very nice tickets.
Oh
So
wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll be up close in the splash zone.
I'm gonna wave to you during what's it called?
Mouse?
Bows, yeah.
All right. I may not see it. It's hard. It's very hard to see anyone in the audience, but I will know it's there.
What's your favorite like restaurant in New York City?
I am like the last person to ask that question because I am not a big adventurous eater, but there's a good sushi place down the street from me, Momoya is a great one on the Upper West Side. They got a Chelsea location too. Um, there's a really good Thai place down by Union Square, kind of by the Harry Potter store, which the name of it is escaping me, but it's very fancy. It's got like gold lining and the whole thing. It looks very like it's done up. which is sort of you walk in, then you're like, oh wow, in Thailand. Um, those are probably my top ones, but I don't eat at restaurants really other than well, that's fair. I have to give a shout out to Raw Sushi across the street from Cursed Child because they have provided me with two show day meals every Wednesday and Saturday since I joined the show. So
Yeah, I
they
was about to ask, where do you eat from?
I'm a very good patron of Raw Sushi.
So where are they? Like 43rd, 42nd?
They're literally across the street from on 43rd.
I've
Um,
seen that sub place across that's like all like on the edge of Times Square. You know what I'm talking
oh
about?
yeah. I've never been in
Yeah,
there.
I've never been to the sushi place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll
Green
stop there
Symphony is
next time.
another favorite of the Cursed Child company of which is just down the way on 43rd. They got good smoothies and things like that. So people like if you're in that area, Green Symphony or Raw are both good options.
Maybe when I go in November, maybe we'll both shop there. Elliot,
Yeah.
maybe.
I mean that's if we meet up.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Um,
Since being on Cursed Child, have you been able to actually go see any other like Broadway shows?
Every once in a while, yeah. I saw Merrily. I saw Movie Dad in his Broadway show.
yeah, I saw
Um,
it on your story you posted, like good luck dad or break a leg dad.
yes. And that was very good. What else have I seen? I've seen when we so every once in a while, sometimes when you're in a show like Kershad, you get when another show opens, if your producer has a relationship, sometimes you'll get comp offers, and so you'll get to go see it for free on like a Monday. And so like I saw Tommy that way. I saw what else did we get a comp? We got like a Christmas Carol was like a one man show. It was very good. I saw I saw Shucked while I was in Cursed Child once, which was very funny. I'm looking forward to seeing the Thursday after I finish. I'm going to go see Stereophonic finally. I'm very excited about. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it's sort of hard. I saw some of the immersive show because I work on a telephone immersive show, and so I saw Life and Trust is a new immersive show in New York that I saw a couple months ago, which was kind of like Sleep No More if you know that show. Um, it's very anyway. They're very cool. It's like you're in a building and you can walk through, and the actors kind of pass through. It's more of a dance show than a theater show, but they're very cool. So things like that I've been able to catch. But I'm definitely looking forward to actually being able to go and see some things outside of the Lyric Theater.
Yeah.
I've seen Harry Potter and the Cursed Child a lot in the
Yeah.
last 2 years.
Haven't seen
Or
it from
at
the
least
stands
very
though.
certain parts of it I've seen a lot. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have any more questions. Joel, do you have any more questions?
What are your Hogwarts houses?
Oh yeah. Elliot, you're Hufflepuff, right?
Yes, I'm a Hufflepuff.
Oh, I guess I should have looked at the scarf on your.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm Gryffindor, but I've also done the tests like 10 times and I've gotten all different answers. So
Okay,
I
yeah,
don't know for sure, but the
Yeah.
first time I got Gryffindor, so I stick with that.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry, you go ahead.
No, go for it.
Okay. Um, I've done like the test like a lot of times. And I've gone Gryffindor and Hufflepuff. Oh, I've never gone any other house. I actually got Ravenclaw once, but that was a surprise. But I've always gone Hufflepuff more, so I've said I'm a Hufflepuff.
So, yeah, no, I've oscillated between Gryffindor and Ravenclaw, but spiritually, I'm more of a Ravenclaw in my day-to-day life, I think. So, hence my what I chose as my house for the Cursed Child website.
Yeah.
Oh
Um,
yeah, speaking of which, um, so I've seen in the Journey book backstage, during like rehearsals or whatnot, they have everyone sell their Hogwarts houses and they like if you do stuff correctly, you get a point to your house or whatever. Do you guys still do that?
they do, yeah. Sometimes it warm up for like a month. This was maybe 3 months ago now. I don't know. Time it all kind of blurs together, but they do like House Cup, and so there'll be kind of like warm up style, field day style games for a couple weeks on like a Thursday where you'll win points. It's not the most like mathematically egalitarian system. It's definitely kind of it usually comes down to like we do a couple weeks and then like the last challenge is like for all the marbles and that's the house that wins. I think last year I was Slytherin. We get sorted. It's not by what house you are. We get sorted into houses to make it even. And so I was in Slytherin both years, which feels rigged, but whatever. Um, and we won. Slytherin won last year, but we never got our prize, which is
What was the
like
prize supposed
I
to
think
be?
it's supposed to be like you get to tell stage management what treat you want for half hour or something. And I don't think we ever. I think no one on our team ever claimed the prize. So we never got it. This year, I think I want to say Hufflepuff won this year, but honestly, I don't remember.
I think I saw in Chad's story. I think I pronounced his name right. I have no idea.
Chad, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was Ravenclaw or Hufflepuff. One of the two
I think it
won.
was Hufflepuff. I think because Chad, I'm pretty sure was in Hufflepuff because there were some big talkers in the Hufflepuff group this year, and
Yeah.
Chad's very competitive. His basketball background shows. But yeah, I think Hufflepuff pulled it off this year, if I recall.
And I think this is probably one of the last questions. I remember you had mentioned in another interview that you guys wanted to get like heart rate monitors for the
Yes,
show. Did you
yeah.
ever get to do that?
I did never do that. No,
I
I
mean, you
I
have
was
another
thinking about that the
month
other day, and I was like, I know well, the thing I'd have to figure out is that it would take a little bit of trial and error because you'd have to get one that doesn't interfere with the mic in any way.
or water.
It's yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's a hard show to just like throw one on. Also, just because of like all the different changes we have to do. So I don't think I'm gonna get to do it, but I hope they do at some point because it would be a very interesting interesting thing to. And I remember like I pitched it to our physical therapist too for the show, and she was like, "Oh, if you do it, like send me the data." Da, da, da. And so she was very excited, but then we never got to actually around to actually doing it. But I can tell you it's a lot of steps. That's what I can tell you about the show.
But
Some
I'll tell
I
you,
think Jax actually did wear a step counter one day,
who
and
did?
Jax
Oh, Jax.
um in the yawn track, and I can't remember. I'd have to ask Jax how many steps it was because I. So every week, did you guys know about Eric's fun facts? Has he ever talked about that?
Maybe?
So every day he has a fun fact. Last year it was dad jokes. This year it's fun facts. Um, and so there's a theme every week. And then I do a question that's sort of like a numerical question every day. And it has to do with, it's related to our ongoing game of rock, paper, scissors. I can't tell you why, because that would spoil my strategy. I can't publicly let that out in the open until I've left the show. Um, but one of the questions I asked was like, how many steps do you think you take in whatever track you are? And so then Jax the next week like brought a step counter and wore it around their ankle or something and actually counted how many steps were in the on track. And I can't remember how many it was, but I have to ask Jax. So some data has been collected on that front, but not by me.
But also, Jax doesn't have too many scenes really, so that you don't really know yours. Like that doesn't really give you an answer to what you
No,
want.
it would be very different for the Albus Scorpius track, but it's just like an average track in the show. Is kind of what that would tell you. Um,
But
yeah, it was
yeah,
high, as I recall. A lot of transitions and things and wand dancing, and you know.
Elliot, do you have any more questions?
Have you tried butterbeer yet?
I
Oh,
have tried it once.
did you like it?
Well, I have not tried it again. I was not a fan. I was not a fan. I'll be
Was
completely honest.
was it from the theater? Is that butterbeer?
No,
Or was
it was from the exhibition. That's where it was from.
I've never been to the exhibition because so I wouldn't know if
Yeah.
it's good or not. But
I assume it's the same stuff, but yeah.
At Universal it is good. So
Okay.
when
Well,
you go there
if I ever
eventually.
make it to Universal, I will maybe give it another try. But whatever one I had was admittedly not my favorite beverage I've ever had. I'm glad I tried it. Glad I tried it, but I would probably opt for the chocolate frogs instead of the butterbeer next time.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
speaking of chocolate frog.
There it
Get
is.
this in November.
Yeah.
Okay.
What
Yeah,
type of
there is
bagels do they?
a what?
I said, what type of bagels do they have?
Most of the normal kinds
Okay.
are the ones. Yeah, yeah.
There is
You could
three
spot
types of butterbeer though. So,
There are three.
frozen, cold,
yeah,
and
frozen.
warm.
Yeah.
At Universal,
Are
it's
those just not different states of the same thing?
yeah.
Well, I would say at Universal the tiny bit of taste difference, but
Okay.
yeah,
Well, I will keep that in mind. Maybe a
yeah.
frozen one would do me better because the
And
one I
then
had was definitely warm.
yeah, the one that you can just like buy online and stuff, that one also tastes like extremely different from
Oh yeah,
the
I hate
butterbeer
that.
and Cursed
Oh,
Child and also Universal.
okay. Well,
I
duly
bought
noted.
I bought butterbeer in Toronto from the theater. It was disgusting. I hated it.
Oh, well, say la vie. Yeah, well, I will keep that in mind. I'll keep an open mind toward butterbeer, but my experience henceforth has not been fantastic.
So yeah, that's probably all our questions. We
Great.
hopefully we will both see you November 10th. I'll see you the
I'll be
9th,
there.
probably.
Sounds good.
Um, yeah, wishing I could have saw any cover for I love your Albus, but I still wish I could have saw a cover because seeing covers, just
Maybe
seeing
next
the
year.
difference is
Totally.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, it's so much fun. It's
I
all, I
really
mean,
wish I could have.
I was there are people who like don't like to see covers, and I'm always like, why? Like it's always that's what's the magic of theater is it's so
Yeah.
different and it's like their own version of it. But well maybe next year you'll get to see. I mean you'll surely get to see different albums next year, but
Yeah.
a different some covers as well, perhaps.
Yeah. Thank you for chatting with
Of
us.
course, thanks for having me.
You have a no, you don't have a show today. I was about to say good luck tonight.
Day
Good
off.
luck
Day off.
tomorrow, the rest of the week, the rest of the month, whatever.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well have a great one, guys.
You too.